Welcome back to BaldHeaded Metal, guys. My name is Joseph. Today I want to review the new Aborted album, ManiaCult, which came out on September 10th, 2021. A little bit about Aborted. They are a Belgian death metal band that's been around since 1995, and they're considered one of the main contributors to the brutal death metal scene. Fuck, you hear it on every single song on their 11th album release, ManiaCult. I'll be honest, I am a huge metal guy. I love all genres of heavy metal, for the exception of a new metal, deathcore, metalcore. Not a big fan. There are some bands that I like in those genres, but for the most part, I don't like them. But I've never got to listen to Aborted, being a big death metal fan myself, so I decided to dip my toes with this current album and see what it's all about. And holy fuck, I was not disappointed. From beginning to the end, I was really surprised how well the band was able to mix the more brutal moments with melodic riffs and solos. And it becomes quite evident from the beginning of the album in the song ManiaCult how versatile it's really going to be. The album's creative from beginning to end, with awesome songwriting, absolutely brutal vocals, and riffs that never stay on one element for too long, with songs just like Portal to Vacuity. This actually, the biggest draw for me on this album is that a lot of, or most death metal bands, they get very repetitive and boring because they just go for like, how fast can we make it, what's the most brutal thing we can do, and faster and louder, and you know, it gets really fucking old at some point. Especially in the death metal, black metal scene, it can get quite boring because they just go for blast beats and it becomes very repetitive. Aborted does a great job of balancing speed, slow moments, brutal and melodic moments, switching up the songs, which keeps the 40-minute run of this album interesting throughout. It has very crisp production. You can hear every riff, every instrument clearly without sounding overproduced on this album, which I think is important. If there's anything I can complain about, and it's a personal preference, is I'm not a big fan of the Cookie Monster vocals that they have here, which is a personal criticism of mine since I've started listening to heavy metal in the black metal and death metal genres, which, you know, it just kind of boils down who could do the deepest growl or the highest screech and who can sound just more brutal. Honestly, I'm not 16 anymore. It doesn't really impress me. I've heard it all at this point. I just like the heavy stuff as much as the next guy, and the songwriting just has to be good. But, you know, talking about Aborted, I do wish the vocal performances on this album mirrored more songs like Dementophobia and a Vulgar Quagmire, where the vocalist Seven actually displays really nice range and has more interesting and varied approach to doing the vocals, and gives a texture to the songs that I feel like some other songs don't have on this album. But he does have some serious skill if you're into that kind of deep growls and you enjoy them. I'm just not a big fan. But personal tastes aside, the skill on display is very evident. You can understand why they're the veterans of that genre, and the album is just absolutely solid from beginning to the end. Now I'm actually intrigued to jump into their whole catalog, check it out, see what they're all about, because this album absolutely fucking shreds. It was very easy to get into, which is not a case for a lot of death metal albums for me. They tend to give me, like, I need a couple listens to get into them, even with one of my favorite death metal bands, I'll. I was able to get into this one very quickly because it has quite a melodic side to it, which I really enjoyed, and I think I've just become a fan of Aborted from this album. I can't really tell you how good this album is in the pantheon of Aborted albums, or how much it really affects the whole death metal genre scene, or whether it's going to be the album of the year. I think it's still a little bit too early to tell because there's quite a few good albums coming out this year, but it is a solid album from beginning to end. If you're an old school fan, I don't see an old school fan having a problem with this album. And if you're a new person like me, just never heard of this band, it's a great album to jump into right off the bat because it has a lot to offer. And I already kind of listened to it through twice, and it felt like I wanted a little bit more out of it. And I think it's a great feeling for an album to leave you wanting more and wanting to listen to the songs over and over and over. But I want to know from you guys, whether you're just a death metal fan or you're an Aborted fan, how much did you like this album if you listened to it yourself? And if you know more about Aborted, what is your favorite album from this band? I would like to know. And let me know what you think about the review overall. And if you enjoy this kind of content or you want to see reactions to various songs on this channel, make sure to subscribe down below, as I do reactions to basically any genre. You can request any song that you want. Keep it metal out there, guys, and have a good one.